We're moving into 2018, and although virtual reality is gaining steam, there are still only a handful of games out there that really grab the player and take you away into another world. So whether you're thinking about getting into virtual reality yourself, or you're already a proud owner of a VR system, these are the Thaco Gamers Top 10 Must-Own VR Games of 2018. 10! Number 10, Chronos. Available exclusively to the Oculus Rift, Chronos brings you a hack-and-slash style RPG game to virtual reality. Chronos proves that VR is a legitimate medium for playing third-person games, and the implementation is superb. Although some find the static camera a la God of War or Devil May Cry to be cumbersome, the developers did an excellent job of using this perspective and level design to throw some surprises your way. Your gaze naturally follows the progression of your hero across the room, only to lead you into a surprise attack from behind that could have easily been noticed had you taken a split second to take a peek back on occasion and regain total awareness of your surroundings. The combat is a more forgiving version of Dark Souls, where timing is of utmost importance and leveling up is rewarding and fun. Chronos also has an interesting gimmick where every time you die, you age a year, and the older you are, the less you can rely on brawn, and the more you have to rely on your wisdom. Chronos' visuals, gameplay, and story are all top-notch and have earned it a special place in our hearts. 9! Number 9, Emily Wants to Play. This game came out originally as a non-VR title and was later ported, but the type of gameplay that this requires almost makes you think that it was built for VR from the start. Don't let the crude graphics or the ridiculously short game length fool you. Emily wants to play, and that she will, with your mind. This game is a jump scare nightmare that does it right. Sure, in your first playthrough, the jump scares seem to come out of nowhere, but after a few repeated cycles of in-game death and real-life pants wetting, you'll begin to know when the jump scares are coming, which makes it that much more imperative that you solve the puzzles of exactly how Emily wants to play. Without giving away the puzzle of the game, just trust me when I say that if you know all of the tricks and when everything is coming, you'll frantically look around to prevent it, which makes the jump scares that much more terrifying as you know that you've failed and it's only a matter of seconds before you crap your heart onto the floor. Just look at these examples from our own playthroughs.
Jesus Christ! Oh shit, what do I do? Oh man. That's alright, it didn't really bother me at all.
What just happened?
Nothing, just the game ended. I must have won. I think I won.
High score, what's that mean? I broke it?
8! Number 8, Sorento VR. We know, another arena-style wave shooter making somebody's top 10 list? Well, Sorento is deserving of its place here. Now, if you don't like wave shooters, maybe this isn't for you, but at least they give you a large place to play in, and the main reason we've put this on the list? The locomotion and the melee combat. Sure, we've played wave shooters, but how about ones where you can jump halfway across the room to a balcony and then initiate bullet time and take out 4 bad guys before you land at your destination? Oh, did you miss one? No problem. Whip out your trusty samurai sword and finish the punk off. Sorento may be another wave shooter, but the gameplay was exciting enough and intense enough to where you forgot that you're mostly just unloading clip after clip into baddies. The means of getting from one end of the map to the other, whether it be by running, sliding, jumping, or leaping, coupled with the varied combat with sword and gun, make this game well deserving of the top 10 list. 7! Number 7, Lucky's Tale. This Oculus Rift exclusive is the closest thing to a Mario platformer that you can get in VR at the moment, and it does an excellent job of proving that the adventure platformer is a totally legitimate way to experience VR. Sometimes you want to be immersed in a world, but just don't feel like pushing the couch aside and swinging your arms around like a crazy person. Sometimes you just want to sit on your couch and game. Not only does Lucky's Tale provide you with an option for the VR platformer, but the game is a good platformer in its own right, so much so that it's currently in the works for a sequel on the consoles. Lucky's Tale provides memorable characters, fun gameplay, good VR implementation, and a nice casual way to enjoy your Oculus Rift. It's pretty surreal to be sitting down and watching this little guy running around only a foot from your face and jumping in 3D space becomes a whole new ball game when you're down in the dirt with Lucky. What we found most surprising was that the heights have a whole new sense of concern to them that we've never thought twice about in Lucky's console competitors. Lucky made us a believer that VR is more than just limited to shooters and cockpit games, and I personally actually look forward to the next VR platformer where I'm not looking through the eyes of the hero, but can just be down there with them and take in the sights and sounds from their perspective.
6!
Number 6, Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous is a massively multiplayer online sandbox space simulator. It's not for those looking for a quick arcade experience, and it has a steep learning curve. One can actually spend hours in the tutorial missions even before starting the actual game, and it is highly recommended that you do so. And these tutorials, although fun, still only scratch the surface of what the game has to offer. If you are willing to muscle through the initial hours of instruction and failure, you will be rewarded with a beautiful and exciting space simulator. Just flying from one star system to another, finding the spaceport, requesting docking, and successfully accomplishing the maneuvers to land is no simple task. The sheer scope and scale of some of these space stations cannot be fully realized until you put the headset on yourself. These images that you see on the screen now and the words used to describe it simply cannot do it justice. Once you've got the hang of the game, you can partake in quests involving shipping legal and illegal goods, killing NPCs and PCs for bounties, trade, exploration, mining, and even more. Your actions in different systems can help the governments to rise and fall and ultimately contribute to the evolution of the galaxy. We won't get into every aspect of what this game has to offer in order to maintain continuity for this top 10 video, but if you have the gaming constitution to trudge through the initial difficulty factor of simply landing a ship, you'll have one of the biggest games available in VR with hundreds of hours of gameplay ahead of you. And the best thing about it is the price. Although it's well worth the $30 asking price, we've seen it for as cheap as $7.49 when it's on sale on Steam. If you're apprehensive, just wait for the sale.
5!
Number 5, Arizona Sunshine. Zombie wave shooters move over. This is a guided open-world adventure where you loot buildings, bodies, and cars, shoot zombies in the face, and explore the open world, either alone or with a friend. Abandoning the typical zombie wave shooter that's plagued arcades and now VR systems for years, Arizona Sunshine takes a different approach by giving you the freedom to make your own way around. Want to take a breather and check out that building? Or loot the trunk of a car? No problem. Arizona Sunshine gives you that freedom. But that doesn't mean that you can let your guard down for too long, or you may be surprised to find that when you shut the trunk of that car, there's a zombie waiting right there on the other side ready to eat your brains. Arizona Sunshine is a good co-op zombie shooter adventure game. What more could you ask for?
4.
Number 4, Paranormal Activity: The Lost Soul. Although the initial release of Paranormal Activity was plagued with locomotion issues and a few bugs, it was still a scary and satisfying experience. Now that a lot of the issues have been patched out, what's left is a free-roaming haunted house where you are armed only with your flashlight and your problem-solving skills. There are puzzles, some jump scares, and an overall creepy tone that has you frequently considering removing your headset and telling yourself that it's because you need to get some sleep because you have to get up early in the morning. But you know why you took off the headset, don't you? It was the images on the TV, that creepy little girl, that poor dog, or the cassette tapes. So if you like horror games and you think you've got what it takes to brave the horrors of this house, then pick up Paranormal Activity: The Lost Soul. Grab your flashlight and head on in. But it might not be a bad idea to bring an extra pair of pants.
3!
Number 3, Vanishing Realms. Indemo Labs released this on launch with the HTC Vive, and it is still one of the best experiences to be had in VR. And good news, Oculus owners, it's recently been patched to natively support the touch controllers. Vanishing Realms is one of our go-to games to show off our friends of how amazing VR can be. The atmosphere and ambiance of this game immediately sucks you out of your living room and into the dungeon. You can almost feel the water dripping on your neck and smell the musty hallways. Not only has Indemo Labs done an absolutely amazing job of immersing you in the dungeon crawl experience, but they've managed to give you the most satisfying melee combat experience of any VR game that we've played. The sword and shield combat is as good as it gets, and the bow and arrows are exciting both on the sending and receiving end of the arrows. Blocking an arrow with your shield, ducking out of the way of it, or knocking it out of the air with your sword is so unbelievably satisfying and adrenaline-inducing. And hey, good news for those of you that have had it since launch but haven't revisited the game lately. The devs have patched in some new content in the middle of the campaign, adding another 30 or 40 minutes of playtime. Our only gripe is that the game is so short. If you power through it, you could probably complete the entire game in a couple of hours, so we recommend that you take your time and enjoy this one because it's one of the best and still worth the $20 price tag even with the short campaign.
2!
Number 2, Robo Recall. You may have noticed that our list is not full of shooters. The main reason is that the market is saturated because, frankly, most are creative dumpsters. Too many VR games pit you against waves and waves of monsters, zombies, and robots in an arcade-style shooter with little to offer in terms of story, gameplay variety, level design, or game advancement. Not Robo Recall. Right off the bat, you are given a decent story with excellent presentation and a nice heavy dose of humor thrown in. Robo Recall is not your typical shooter. The graphics are amazing, the gameplay is perfect, and there are so many ways to beat the snot out of these rogue robots that it never gets old. Our personal favorite is ripping off their heads or beating them to death with their own arms. The nice thing about Robo Recall is the variety in combat. Whether it's violently dismembering the robots, catching bullets mid-air and throwing them back at them, or just good old-fashioned gunplay. What makes this game stand out from every other shooter is the character of the game, the fluidity of the gameplay, and the natural feel of the touch controllers. Every movement is so natural that you can forget that you even have a controller in your hand. Excellent job, Robo Recall. Number 1, The Magus Tale. Vanishing Realms was by far our favorite dungeon crawl until The Magus Tale came out. Everything that Vanishing Realms was lacking, Magus Tale excelled at. The locomotion options work for everybody, the puzzles are fun and satisfying, the graphics are excellent, the game length is 10 times that of Vanishing Realms, hell, even the option screens are implemented well. And the inclusion of spellcrafting and the way you create them is fun in and of itself. The Magus Tale was created by In Exile Entertainment, the same company that brought you Bard's Tale, and the game takes place in the same universe. You can tell from all of the details and graphics, gameplay, story, and voice acting that In Exile put more thought and care into the production of their game than 99% of the shovelware VR games available on Steam. From the moment you step into the shoes of the apprentice, you are immediately swept away into the universe. The gameplay is spot on, and the variety of spells that you can cast and the creative way that you concoct them is perfect. This was one of those games that I could easily spend what I thought was an hour in-game only to remove my headset and realize that I've been battling monsters and casting spells for 4 to 5 hours. If you don't already own this, go buy it now. You won't be disappointed. Unless you have the Vive, because unfortunately this one's an Oculus exclusive. In Exile has stated that they have plans to bring products to the Vive in the future, so let's keep our fingers crossed. So what did you think of the video? Did we miss any of your favorite VR titles? If we did, please sound off in the comment section down below and let us know. And hey, if you liked the video, feel free to give us a like or a subscribe. Thanks for visiting. We'll see you guys again later.